by Crossroads Community Hospital. The Saturday Sports Show has been recognized by the Illinois Broadcasters Association as one of the top radio programs in the state. That means the very best mix of local sports content is right here. From the powerhouse on Broadway, the Saturday Sports Show starts now.
And good morning. Welcome you into Peoria, the WMIX Sports Football Studios. Of course, driven by Ford Square. Proud to be with you here from near March Madness. Not quite the experience we normally would be in years past. Here at the Mark Twain Hotel, of course, in Peoria. The Saturday Sports Show is presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
It definitely is. Of course, very thankful for them allowing us to be here in Peoria today. Of course, March Madness, of course, the IHSA Class 1A and 2A state finals this weekend. Of course, we'll have some local teams getting trophies today. But DC, we come up here every year, and we've tried some different things with the program from up here, but today we're going to try something entirely new and pull off something that we've not done before, and it should be pretty exciting.
Well, it should be. We decided to go a different route this year, bring in some knowledgeable guests for this particular show. We're going to try this out this year and see what we can come up with.
Well, the odds are I probably messed something up along the way, but that's what makes live radio so wonderful. But Nashville Hornets will play for a state title tonight in Class 2A. The Central Red Devils will play for a third-place trophy today. Of course, we take a look at all of that on your WMIXSports.com scoreboard from last night. Of course, it was a loaded one, including some Special Olympics basketball, as well as the Mount Vernon Rams are trying to repeat the Special Olympics. The Mount Vernon Rams beat Lockport yesterday, 63-40. In your Class 1A state semifinals, there's Hayworth over Central Lear, 57-51. Broussard beat Minden Unity, 74-61. In the 2A semifinals, there's Nashville over Porta, 62-43. Central Catholic beat Providence St. Mel, 51-45. 3A sectional title games last night. Cahokia ends Marion's run at Highland, 49-41. Lincoln beats Champaign Central at Mattoon, 47-30. And in 4A sectional championship at East Moline, it was Edwardsville over Normal Community, 56-53. And Chicago Heights Marion beat Homewood Flossmoor, 71-60. Your Supers on Tuesday night, of course, Springfield will be Cahokia Lincoln in 3A. And up north, it'll be Edwardsville and Chicago Heights Marion on Tuesday in Class 4A, at least the ones we care about in our listening area. But however, we're up here in Peoria right now. That is the mission of those 3A and 4A teams come Tuesday. But we got to see 4 games yesterday, of course, the 2 semifinals. Hard to count. I assume 8 because we're here for 8 games, but I guess you just split that in half, and it makes life a lot easier as Joe Boo comes in with our coffee.
Thank goodness. Coffee guy today. I like this.
Yeah. So there we go. But an interesting day, and of course, this was your brainchild, DC. Thankfully, and I think it's a very good idea.
Well, we have Benton Rangers basketball coach Ron Winemiller, Anna-Jonesboro Wildcats basketball coach Mike Chamness, Johnston City basketball coach Wade Thomas, and Fairfield athletic director Bobby Wells in the house.
Rob here today.
Yes.
So it should be a good one.
It should be. We don't have a script either. We're going to tell everybody now we are not on a script. We are going to talk about whatever comes flying up that has gotten us out of a lather or gotten us in a lather or whatever. There is no script. So we're here to talk about whatever we want to talk about as our gentlemen are here.
We're basically just going to take that format, riff it right up and throw it away.
Yeah, you could say that.
And since I did say that, I'll go ahead and burn a quick break real quick here on the Saturday Sports Show. It's presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
Mount Vernon is home to many wonderful people and things, and that includes quality cardiac care from Dr. Ruzaik Ibrahim. A skilled cardiologist, Dr. Ibrahim's training and scientific accomplishments have earned his designation as a Fellow of the American College of Cardiology. His services range from preventative care to the treatment of advanced heart conditions. For an appointment with Dr. Ibrahim at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 241-9071 or visit in person at 4113 South Water Tower, Mount Vernon.
Hi, Roy Schmidt, Ford dealer, Ford Square, Mount Vernon. We have one of the hottest car lines in the industry with the Ford Fiesta, Focus, and Fusion. The Ford brand was the top-selling brand in the United States in 2013, and we at Ford Square are determined to make that happen again in 2014. Ford is number one because the Fusion hugs curves and embraces fuel efficiency. The Focus is your friend at the pump and your love on the road. And the Ford Fiesta is taking fun and efficiency further. We have over 40 of these cars in stock right now waiting for you. We can offer huge cashback savings and want to deal. We will do anything to make 2014 even better and keep Ford number one. Come see our associates at Ford Square, 1501 Broadway, Mount Vernon, Illinois, and we will show you why the best never rests. You can always view our new and pre-owned inventory online at fordsquare.com.
Hi, this is Joe Davey Cummins, President of Community First Bank. Now is a great time to move your account to Community First Bank. With our new One account offering the highest interest rate in the market, free checking, and CD specials delivered by people you know and trust, why would you not bank with the market leader in Jefferson County? We offer 5 locations with 7 ATMs and have been serving the Jefferson County market since 1906. Stop in and see why our bank is the fastest growing bank in Jefferson County. Community First Bank. Welcome back to Personal Banking. Member FDIC.
And we'll be back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXSports.com. Today up here in Peoria, of course. 1A and 2A state semifinals were yesterday. 1A and 2A trophy games will be today and tonight. Of course, kind of a panel-type show coming your way today up here in Peoria, the March Madness, as they call it. And glad to be here with you until 10 o'clock. But as we take a look at some of the games from yesterday, of course, I know many in our area disappointed that SB unable to topple the Hayworth Hornets yesterday, but Hayworth, the team here, Bloomington, and of course, probably the home team in Class 1A, and brought a great crowd. And you really take a look at how the tempo was set yesterday in terms of the gameplay, and it looks like both teams at points were just happy to be here. At least I think anybody.
I thought they were happy to be here the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought they had that wide-eyed look like they did Tuesday night when they walked into the arena and they're snapping pictures and looking at the scoreboard and the big jumbotron and everything. And I think they still had that feeling last night or yesterday afternoon. Dietrich, it didn't matter because, they were going to beat Dietrich. But Hayworth last night, yesterday, whatever it was, Sesser kind of messed around for the first 6 minutes. By the time Sesser figured things out, Hayworth had already had a lather built up, I think.
Yeah, and you go back, Sesser missed probably 5 or 6 easy looks, especially early in the game. You get beat 57-51. You look back at those. I thought they played tight early, and I thought, especially the big kid, McCarty. I thought he played tight almost, kind of the whole game, and he's really came on strong lately. I think I haven't seen Sesser a lot, but he's played well down the stretch for him. So hopefully they can rebound today.
And I think one of the kind of the keys to this run that you look at Sesser, it's been a different guy every game. It was Gunner in the regional championship, then it was Baxter in the semifinal of the sectional against Goreville, Thompson in the super sectional, and Marlowe's kind of always been the stabilizing factor. They didn't have that other guy. Vanway, I thought, was their MVP yesterday. I thought he really came in, and somebody made the point to me and that he shot in the three-point thing on Thursday, and you start looking at anything when you get up to this time of the year, but maybe that's what settled him down because he already had some time on the floor. I don't know, but Hayworth was better than I had anticipated them being, to be honest. And to be honest with you, the 1A team I was most impressed with was Minden Unity, even though they got beat by the Point Exchange team.
And I think that when you look at the game yesterday also, Sesser didn't get off to a good start, but I think Hayworth had something to do with that. I thought defensively Hayworth did a really good job. Marlowe kind of stirs the drink for Sesser, and when he was not able to get started, I think Hayworth put we talked about that also. Hayworth put a longer kid on him and maybe caused some problems there, and for them to get off to the start that they got, I think that Shane had to feel really good, particularly in the first half. Going into halftime, the game being as close as it was, and like Ron said, I think Vanway really kind of hit those three big threes in the first half to kind of keep them close. And I felt like going into the second half that Sesser, once they kind of relaxed and settled in, that they would still be okay. But again, I think you have to give Hayworth a little bit of credit.
I thought, too, Hayworth trapped their ball screen. Sesser runs that ball screen offense up top, and every time Hayworth had a chance, they trapped up. And I don't think Sesser's guards expected or had seen enough of that this year, especially some of the reserves. Because to me, that's what hurt Sesser a little bit yesterday. I don't think the reserves were ready for the moment. I think you had a lot of dribbling off their feet, dropping the basketball here, the guy come up and take it away from them real easily. I thought that Hayworth did a good job of pressuring people that weren't used to the pressure coming off the bench.
Well, I think you're exactly right. And somebody came up to me and said, well, Sesser's hot streak finally ran out. I don't think that was necessarily the case at all. I think it was just nerves and jitters and that energy that gets inside you, that nervous energy, even though you're excited, you're still just scared. And that's just how they looked, I thought, to open up the game yesterday. And they looked like they were able to recover from that, in the second half, but it just seemed like too little too late down the stretch when those nerves started to appear again, I thought.
Well, I heard people talk about the free throw disparity. It was a difference at the free throw line, but probably to me the biggest key to the ball game, other than Cesar didn't shoot the ball really well, was how they really got hurt on the offensive boards. I think Hayworth ended up at 18 offensive boards for the game, and I think they had 10 at half. But I think, and I don't know if the size differential, I know Hayworth had a couple of really nice athletes inside, but I really think their ability to get on the offensive boards didn't help Cesar's cause as well.
What did Hayworth shoot, 26%?
Yeah, it still won.
But they still got more shots up.
Right.
Because at half they were awful, average 26%, but they still got more shots. Second chance points were huge for Hayworth.
Not only that, but I just think that when you took a look at this one on paper and saw the heights and saw the storyline, I just thought that maybe this might be the most evenly matched game of the quarter or the state final or semifinals yesterday. But anyhow, catch up. I know exactly right. But really, when you think about what they were able to put in and what they were able to do, an impressive performance, I thought, under the circumstances for the Red Devils, because both teams shot very, 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 very poorly, but it just looked like one of those things where, the quickness of Hayworth, I thought they were a lot quicker than I expected them to be and getting up and down the floor, and I was very surprised by that, but all in all, that's ultimately what led to their win, and they're getting the children's on the state championship.
Hayworth, to me, they're a 1A school, I think, in football, or 2A. They had the football bodies, and I think Cesar ran into somebody that matched them physical-wise. Because Cesar sometimes plays schools that don't have football, and they kind of work their way into beating them physically, and I think Hayworth matched that and then took it back to him, and I thought Hayworth, can't remember the guy's name, number 32 maybe or something, he just probably jumped out to him. If there was a ball around the rim, he was going to get it. I don't think Cesar had anybody to go around the rim to match him and the rebounding he was bringing to the table.
Well, I think Hayworth really reminded me of the team with Yes 5 years ago.
Meridian.
Macon Meridian, in the fact that, just like what Danny said, you could have taken that Hayworth team and played them in a river-to-river game, and they wouldn't have been outmatched physical-wise. And that's what I look at when I come up here and watch these teams, is some of these 1A teams that make it, you're like, these guys would get crushed if they played in the river. And I know people say, well, that's 2A, but, I still go back to the old two-class system, and I think everybody wants to say, well, could they have made it? Well, that's dead and gone with the 4 classes. But I feel like Hayworth was a lot like Macon Meridian from a physical standpoint. They could have really stepped in and played and competed in the river-to-river.
I think that's a healthy way to look at it. By comparing to a conference that regionally people know is a tough conference, and, how would they have fared in that conference? And, maybe they could have, but you take a look at some of the teams up here year in and year out, and you know that they, odds are probably could not, in 2A especially. But take a look at, we're ready to move on to second three.
I was losing the second game today with Mooseheart winning. I think Hayworth has the building today with them. Versus Mooseheart, because people see things.
Well, that's what happens, right? That's what there ends up the crowd favoring the second day, because people start to hear of, well, this team may have had transfer issues, or this team may be a non-boundary institution, a la recruits. And so I do think that the crowd will be in the favor of Hayworth today, especially because pretty well already in their favor anyway, being the local team. I guess you could call it being from near Bloomington. But Benton Unity, I thought, I have to agree, I thought was probably. They very, very, very much surprised me yesterday. I thought they were very athletic and very quick, and I thought for a time there we're going to be able to hang to Mooseheart because, I watched Mooseheart warm up, and I know they're tall, and I know they're athletic, and I know they're great, but I just wasn't impressed as they were warming up. But, they showed up in the second half, and I think that's what won them.
The men didn't surprise me, because I knew they had to be pretty good to beat Jabot. That's what told me.
Yeah, when I looked at as the game unfolded, the thing that the length of the Mooseheart kids, and they have 3 really good athletes, Mooseheart, several more than that, but 3 guys that really stood out to me. But the thing that I took away from the game about Unity was the physicality of number 23, the point guard. They had 3 guys on Unity's team that just really, really, really stood out as far as their effort and how hard they played and how they weren't intimidated to really attack the basket and go against a 7-footer and a 6'10" guy. Their coach had a really good game plan, as they were going to be aggressive, but when they had an opportunity to get to the rim, they was going to, just like when 23 drove, he's 5'10", 5'11", and drove down drove down the lane and dunked it to the surprise of everybody in the building, except for probably the Unity people. But I thought they gave a great effort. But again, just the athletic ability of Mooseheart won out over at the end.
If Mandan gets the right draw, they're probably playing for a title.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought they were better than Cesar and Hayworth yesterday. I mean, I thought they were good.
Yeah, and, going off of what Wade said, Unity's big kid got in foul trouble early. He was their leading scorer, and he didn't play a lot, never really got into the flow. Mooseheart being so big, you would think they'd want him on the floor. And I think maybe he had 4 points. I'm not sure. But, he never really got going, so they kind of had to go a different route. But their point guard is a nice player, and I really enjoyed just watching them play. Their game plan was good. They were very well prepared. But as a coach, I enjoyed watching those kids play.
I made this statement at supper between the sessions last night. I said, in the 5 years that I've been back in Illinois, I think these were the 4 best 1A teams. Typically, there's always one that you're like, oh, man. And there wasn't that this year because there wasn't in 1A. I forget the team a couple years ago that Woodlawn played, the Winnetka.
North Shore Country.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's 12.
Yeah. But I feel like all 4 of these teams, I don't want to say anybody's not worthy of being here, but I felt like all 4 of them could compete, and you could probably redraw it, and you probably have a different team playing Mooseheart in the championship. So I was very impressed by the 1A games yesterday, both of them.
They're very good, and you don't always walk away saying that.
Right.
I hate to be that way. I consider myself a 1A guy for obvious reasons, but there are times when they're just hard to stomach, and you wonder why it is that way now. But all in all, I thought they were better games yesterday.
Mooseheart's Mooseheart. I mean, they're going to be good. The bells are chiming here in Peoria.
Well, that's my backup alarm.
Okay.
It's a little late for a Saturday, though.
I was going to say, that backup alarm is about 25 minutes late, but that's okay.
That's a weekday, but it goes off every day.
Well, I mean, Mooseheart's Mooseheart. What are you going to do? What can you do? Well, I mean, what can Hayworth do today other than sniper from the outside? That's about it.
Do you remember way back when, I don't think it was right at the beginning of the season, maybe a little bit before, maybe still in football season around September, October, when Mooseheart was getting talked about having the kids from Africa, Sudan more specifically, and wondering if they were even going to be eligible this season because they were fighting eligibility issues, I remember. Heck, it may have been late last year.
Yeah. But last year they had that big deal, yeah.
And then but this is it. Like, they are not going to be eligible to have any players from overseas come in and still. So this is a once, right? I don't want to say once in a lifetime, but it is, because they're not going to have that type of player anymore.
I'm looking at Mooseheart, and I'm sitting here going, okay, and they're talking about it. They had a good article in Journal Star today about where they're coming from, their backgrounds and everything, but I don't know if the backgrounds and the issues are going to appease the basketball fan to walk in, it's okay, bring in whoever you want. I don't think that's going to happen.
Regardless what the situation is and why those kids are there, and what, the facility and what Mooseheart reading, like I've done a little bit as well, to Joe fan that's here at the state tournament, it means nothing. In the grand scheme of life, it's a special thing that school and community does for those kids. But when you're looking at it, just like what we're doing this morning, we're talking sports, it's anti-establishment. It's not the right thing. But when you look at their team, I mean, they've got the dang player, number 24. He and 32 are just, they're high-level players. And when you think about 1A basketball, again, taking nothing away from 1A or 2A, but you could see those kids playing for Chicago Simeon. You could see them playing up here next weekend in the 3A and 4A, and not only being able to be on teams, but be potential superstars because those guys can go.
Well, and plus they have a couple kids with them that are pretty good too. It's not like it's just those 2 guys. Plus the 7-footer. The 7-footer's really raw, and it isn't that good, but he is 7 foot. But then they've got some other kids that are really, really, good players. So it'll be interesting to see what Hayworth does against them. I think that the number one thing is you can't be intimidated by him. And I thought Unity yesterday wasn't. But I'm sure Mooseheart this season is when they walk into the gym, that's an intimidating thing for a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid. So the first thing will be they're going to have to match their play as far as not being intimidated.
Well, and to kind of take it one step farther, you talk about the once-in-a-lifetime. You know what? Bloomington Central Catholic, and you guys will have to tell me this, make sure I'm saying it right, but now they will be applied with the multiplier next year because they're going to get a trophy. So tell Keegan Anderson that it's not a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He's going to play for a state title, and now because Bloomington Central Catholic hasn't been that good for 5 years, playing in 3A, now they're going to get bumped up. You know, that's kind of the problem I have with it, is that to these guys, they got one shot to win the state title. You know, what if U-High would have been bumped back down last year? Maybe Harrisburg's not a state championship with the state champion with that team they have. So, hey, I would love to be able to drop down and win a state trophy once every 5 years. And then, hey, we're going to bump back up, and they know that. I'm sure those private school guys have figured that out. The guy I feel bad for is Dennis Reeder. I mean, you know, now they're going to get the multiplier applied to him, and Modern Day and All-Paul aren't. So that area over there is going to get crazy. This may have been Nashville's one chance, you know, in the next 5 years to get up here. So that's the one thing about Mooseheart that I think that people kind of lose sight of is it's these guys that are playing this is one shot too.
I can't go down that road.
Appreciate that.
Well, I mean, I can't sit there and feel sorry for somebody and go out and hand out flyers and say, write you a check, come on in. Whereas if they move to any of your three schools, we got to have 35 forms of identification. Here it is. I understand. To me, the multiplier rule works because it keeps people like, you know, Bloomington Central Catholic from being here every year, getting the same people that play basketball. That's me.
And that's my point. You know,
right.
Once every 5 years, if you can drop down, I'm sure those guys start looking and say, all right, now these 8th graders and these 7th graders, that's when we're going to drop back down a class. So that's when I don't want to use the word recruit, but that's when we're going to systematically try to bring in guys to help us at that level. And then they know they're going back up, and they're probably, once again, then they go back down to the 7th and 8th grade and say, okay, now we're going to have another chance. Because I think if you look, I'll use U-High, that team, because those guys were all sophomores when they made it. You know, look what they've done in the 3-class system. They made it to the sectional this year, but, you know, it's just so much tougher when you got to start playing Peoria Central and Springfield and Lincoln and all those guys. So that's the thing that I don't think's right about the way they do it.
Oh, there's probably a lot not right with how some things are done, but the thing that gets me is I still have yet to find whether Mooseheart is technically, because, I mean, there really are a boundaried institution, but yet they still have some of the similarities of a non-boundaried institution because it is a children's home. It's a non-incorporated village. It's not a town. It's not a city. It's not a village. It is just a children's home that's on, like, 1,000 acres, and they all live in various houses. Like, I forget how many kids to an actual house or I would say hut, but, you know, I'm trying to think. There's a better word for it. I'm trying to think of the exact term that they use. I cannot remember what dorm, the dwelling, maybe. What they use dorm. I think they may have used dwelling.
It's very similar to like the Baptist Children's Home at Carmi, where you have cottages and you have house parents, and you know you'll have anywhere from typically you'll have one family, typically a husband and wife, or that are the house parents. And within that cottage, you'll have anywhere from 8 to 10 kids, and it'll be either boys or girls. Then you'll have relief house parents that come on in the weekend and doing some reading on that on Mooseheart here this weekend. That's what it does remind me. The only difference, a student that's at Baptist Children's Home goes to the local public school in that community, whereas in this situation, it is its own community, and the school is there. And a lot of those house parents are teachers, just like the basketball coach. He and his wife are house parents, and you read about them. They have their own children in their home, as well as some other residents or students that go to the Mooseheart School.
But I think on the reason we're talking about this is because there's 2 7-footers from Mooseheart. Right. Mooseheart's been around for years, and we've never had this before. I think it's just because it's put in the basketball spotlight. I mean, how many years has Carmi had different kids come from the Baptist Children's Home? Some have been good athletes, some have not been good athletes. But I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Wade, has there anybody ever been coming from overseas to go to the Children's Baptist Home?
No, typically those kids come from different areas of here within the state of Illinois, and the rationale and the need for the children's home is a special situation for those kids, and I'm sure just like in this situation, I don't know. I know it's the Moose organization, and they are the ones that have funded that and have created this back. I can't remember what it said, back in the 30s or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's kind of evolved to be more than just that, and now it's tied into like an orphanage opportunity for those children. So it's a special thing for those kids and provides stability and parents maybe that those kids may not have. But again, now when you start talking about 4 or 5 players from the Sudan tied through this A-Hope organization, now you start changing. You start changing what this potential situation might be, because now you're bringing in people from a different country.
To me, as I said, if it was like Bob said, if it was kids from Aurora and they were, whatever, 1A team, 2A team, I don't think anybody had a problem. But what the problem is you're bringing in 7-footers, 6'5", and it's like, okay, yeah, it's a great thing, but now it's like, okay, now what?
It almost has the feel that, hey, we just got the idea that we can be very successful in high school basketball if we go out and do this, and it brings some. And I'm not saying that their intentions were to do badly or anything like that. I think the intentions were good, to bring focus upon their school, their community, and they use the rules. Systematic is the term that Ron used earlier. They systematically improve their chances in high school basketball, and I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you use the system to your advantage and you do it legally, I mean, nobody can really be that upset with you, but they're bringing nice attention on their community, their school, and going to get a lot of attention across the state because of it, especially when and if they win the state championship today.
And these 3 young men that are there from the Sudan are probably going to get a college education as a result of it because of their basketball ability.
And one they probably would not have gotten.
Correct.
On their own, so you can't fault that. We need to take a break on the Saturday Sports Show. When we come back, we'll talk about the 2A semifinals from yesterday. Nashville, of course, will be playing in the state title game tonight. We'll talk about that after the break here on the Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Back up to these.
Complete. That's the Orthopedic Center of Southern Illinois, with a full sports medicine clinic, state-of-the-art MRI, a spine care team that focuses on pain management, arthroscopy specialists offering total joint replacement, hand surgery, and complete rehabilitation services. Doctors Chow, Houle, Ahn, Kowalski, Freehill, and Smith stand ready to serve you today, with offices in Mount Vernon and Centralia and satellite offices in Benton and Nashville. Find out more online at orthocenter-si.com.
If you've been trying to buy a car with a challenging credit history, you've discovered that it can be discouraging. But there is good news. I mean really good news. Not all buy here, pay here dealerships are the same. Second Chance Auto really is different. For 34 years, Second Chance Auto has guaranteed to give you the best value for every dollar you spend. Listen, did you know that at some dealerships, if you buy an $8,000 vehicle with minimal down, it could end up costing you $2,000 more? At Second Chance Auto, they'll explain how you can save more on the total cost of your vehicle. No surprises, just honest deals, bank rate financing for all, and a truly dependable vehicle with the best value for your hard-earned dollar. This tax season, use your refund where it will go the farthest. Let Second Chance Auto earn your business and your trust. You won't be disappointed. Second Chance Auto, Route 142 East in Mount Vernon. Call today, 244-4582.
This is Chase Landers with Landers Collision Centers. Imagine this. You're driving down the road. It's dark as can be outside. Thank goodness you just had that left headlight bulb replaced. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see a thing. Now, close your eyes. Okay, don't close your eyes. You're supposed to be driving. Imagine noticing a slight twinkle off to the left, just above the ditch. What is that, you think to yourself? All of a sudden, whack! You've just encountered your first deer hit. The left side of your vehicle is beat up pretty bad. The next thing I want you to imagine is very simple. Picking up your phone and dialing 1-888-LANDERS to set up your repair. Deer claims are common, and usually a very simple process, which fall under comprehensive coverage. This is Chase Landers, asking you to allow Landers to be your collision repair shop of choice. Whether it be a deer hit, fender bender, or the regular, uh-oh, sorry mom, Landers is here for you whenever you need us. Big or small, Landers fixes them all. 1-888-LANDERS, that's 1-888-LANDERS.
Hey, welcome back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXSports.com, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WMIX Sports. We're on Facebook as well, where you can find this week's WMIX Sports social media question of the week. We want to know, who is your favorite all-time ESPN personality? Of course, all-time, but let's prejudice to the fact that we're looking for current or former ESPN personality, maybe a SportsCenter anchor or just maybe one of those shows you don't particularly care about, like the original Cold Pizza or something like that. Maybe somebody from Matt. But that's pretty well what we're looking for. Post it on our Facebook wall, facebook.com/WMIX Sports, or hit us up on Twitter at WMIX Sports. Panel type lineup for you today here on the Saturday Sports Show. DC is here. I'm Chris Hugo, of course. Ron Winemiller, head coach of the Benton Rangers. Mike Chamness, of course, the Anna-Jonesboro Wildcats. Wade Thomas of the Johnston City Indians. Robert Wells is the athletic director at Fairfield. We have IHSA Clinician Christopher Kays with us at the WMIX Sports Local Studios as well today. So 2A state semifinals yesterday. The Nashville Hornets, of course. WMIX, this particular station here, is the original radio home for the Nashville Hornets before developing the station over there in Nashville. So obviously we're very proud to see the Hornets, Coach Brad Weathers, get into the state title game. But, okay. This is probably where I become the villain because, to me, the heel. And we talked about this. Yes, we did. Florida looked like a 1A team. They were a 1A. And we talked about them, and I compared them to a setup with, like, SVW on the girls' side. They're two 1A schools that are barely a 2A team together. And I said it was also a not good version of SVW, but because they're good. But anyhow, but you looked at Porter last night, and yes, they're excited to be here. Probably the best crowd I thought of all the teams, and obviously they were just happy to be there. And I don't think that they were disturbed too much by the fact that they lost to Nashville, but I cannot remember whom I was talking to, but just the fact that, you looked at who Porter beat to get here, and if you went strictly by names, then Nashville had obviously the more impressive road, but, Pleasant Plains is a team they beat to get here. Pleasant Plains, obviously, has not been too much of a factor recently, but you just look at the teams they played, and you never really had the field they had a chance. That makes sense.
Well, I think St. Joe getting beat in that was the one we were talking about before we went on air. We played St. Joe this summer. I've gotten the chance to know Brian Brooks very well. I think he felt like they had a very good chance to get back here. And when they got beat, it kind of just totally opened the door for someone else. I mean, if you look, they beat Paris in the Super. Paris was very average. And,
that's kind.
Not to take anything. I mean, good for them. They're going to get a trophy. And, I talked to a guy from Florida after the game, and I said, listen, 20 years from now, no one will care that they got fourth place. It'll be about the memories they make getting here. But right now, in the moment, when St. Joe got beat, that just kind of opened it up. And he made the comment to me. He said, we knew we were going to have to play Nashville or T-Town. Did it really matter? So I think they kind of knew what they were getting into up here. But, yeah, I think Nashville definitely had the best draw of the three semifinal opponents.
Well, when you looked at last night's game, I mean, the thing that jumped out to me about Florida was just the physicality difference. You look at Nashville and their length and their strength and their size, having, the size that they have across, but not just that, but just the maturity look of the Florida kids. Just looked young, looked very thin, did not look like men, like what you naturally typically see up here in the state tournament. Guys that potentially every team has someone that's probably going to go play at the next level, or multiple guys that's going to go play at the next level, whether it be basketball or football or baseball or whatever the sport is. And as well as that, guys that a lot of times teams are having guys that are going to go play Division I athletics. Take nothing away from Porta. Like Ron said, a special time, special memories that will last a lifetime, but not to take anything or be so derogatory, but last night's game truly looked like men versus boys.
Yeah, and Porta's got some nice players. Sinclair's a nice player. but he looks, I told some of the guys I was with, he looks like an 8th grader. I mean, and part of that was because, Nashville's length and size, but like Wade said, just physically, they just weren't there. And, but, they had the twins, that were decent players, and the Hopper kid, you can tell is a nice player. And then the twins have a little brother who's a freshman who came in late, who's 6'4", who looks like he's going to be really good. So, that's kind of the shame in the whole co-op deal, with barely being 2A, but, that's kind of the way it is.
To me, when they came on the floor, biggest crowd. Mooseheart had a good crowd, speaking of that. We'll talk about crowds and other disappointments later, but to me, when Porter ran on the floor, it was just like, okay,
they were the only school with a mascot, too.
They had the best mascot.
Only
one. Blue Jay.
Only one.
Right. And the only one that had
How does that happen?
Well, I don't know.
I thought to load up on the mascot tour.
Well, there's only one to load up on. But
yeah, I found it.
I didn't like my
picture.
Good picture, by the way.
Well, it was.
The hands were very female. That was a female in there. That's in case you're wondering.
Well, yeah, it's sort of like the suit you're wearing today here, too.
I'm fully dressed, just I'm wearing a bathrobe on top.
Wearing the white bathrobe, sponsored by
Mark Twain. Since we're there, I'm wearing the tie. I'm wearing the latest edition of the WMIX T-shirts.
Right.
Black Puma shorts, a white robe, and brown house slippers. If you could clash anymore, I'd want to know how.
There's some pictures can't end up on the internet, that's for sure, Twitter.
Well, this is illegal. I'm fully clothed. I don't know what the problem is.
That's Nashville. They fully undressed Porter. It seemed to me like Porter got out there and were looking around trying to do things with the basketball they've done all year, and Nashville's competition level, length, and height, Porter couldn't skip the pass across the zone. They couldn't penetrate. It was just, that's good. Now we're going to make a tie out of the bathrobe. So
yeah.
That's
the thing I was just going to throw in, we see Nashville very early. We play them before Christmas, and then we're really done with them. So we don't, if you don't cross paths with somebody or don't have, I watched them on tape a little bit as we had some common opponents. But the thing about them, to me, from December the 20th to now, Thorson, who was really, you can go back and look at our non-shooter, make him bounce it, out there to guard and be tough and physical. He has 25 in the Super. He's the guy that's really looking to assert himself offensively, and he's the reason why I think they're playing at 8:30 tonight. And the other guy is Anderson. Those guys, it was kind of. I think Brad would be the first to tell you didn't want to sit small kids beside too close to the floor early in the season because they could get pummeled the way they were throwing the ball around. And I think if you want to, I know that Newman gets all the press and the big guys, but Thorson and Anderson are the two that are really, really playing well for them right now.
And that Friday night, at 2 point against Mount Carmel, I thought it was Thorson that really got, when he had 13 points early in the first quarter, and just kind of what set them apart in that sectional championship game against Mount Carmel. Didn't quite have as big of a night Tuesday night against T-Town, but that was a total team effort, I thought, at the Super. But then you look at yesterday and Thorson having an injury and then coming back into the game and just has been the leader for them. And I think the thing that kind of concerns me about Nashville is they're going to need Royce Newman to be big tonight. Yeah, and one thing that concerns me, he has a great move inside and a great spin. And the thing I noticed, he never uses the backboard. And that kind of concerns me in a game like this. You're not going to be able to afford to lose those easy points inside like that he is able to get against a good team like Central.
And I think when you talk about Nashville and Ron's talked about their guard play, how much better it's got. And, of course, you got to talk about Newman. But I think, Johannes' play, he was really good yesterday. He was really good in the sectional final game. I look at them, the Nashville team and the job that Coach Weathers always does. It's a team, and you're talking about different people stepping up and making plays either at different points in the game or in different games. And to me, everybody in Southern Illinois, when you talk about Nashville this year, you talk about their length. That's the first thing that really jumps out is their size, being able to get really long in that 3-2 with Mueller at the point and then Johannes and Newman at the back, and then Beatley comes in or what have you. But I think you talk about a good basketball team across the board, guys that know their role, guys that do what they do. And like Ron talks about, as the season goes along, Thorson goes from being a role player to all of a sudden now he ends up and starts making play after play. And Anderson, I have come away being able to watch them 2 games in the sectional and then being able to watch him in the Super and then watch him yesterday. Anderson, man, I'd really like to have him because he plays hard. His motor runs hot. He can handle the basketball. He's tough. He's everything that you want in a perimeter player. But, again, I think for me, it's team.
Yeah, and I think obviously a lot of that has to do with Brad Weathers, and the man is 5-0 now in games that would be classified as state finals games from the '89 Super to this year, and just obviously we've all known for years the man's an incredible coach, and I thought I would have never guessed probably they'd be the team maybe in 2A that would end up here at the beginning of the year, but
preseason number 1,
yeah, preseason number 1, and I was like, wow, but now. Obviously, a lot of that is coming to fruition.
Not the skill level. One thing Nashville did, and Coach Weathers did, I should say, is early in the year they tried to get out and man teams, and with their size and with they just couldn't do it. With the guys they had. About mid-January, maybe a little before, they went to the 3-2 zone, and I know against us, it takes away dribble penetration. It makes you shoot it from the outside, which Bloomington Central Catholic can do a little bit. But since Christmas, I think they're like 20-2. That's pretty good. And I think the one team in our conference that really, from the first time we played them to the second time we played them, took the next step. I thought Nashville did. Not to say other teams in our conference didn't get any better, but I thought Nashville was extremely better the second time we played them as opposed to the first time in early December.
And, the thing that I would say, they played that 3-2 zone against us, and that's when they were just starting to kind of be 50-50. And I got to say this, Brad's great to me. Anytime, whether not even tape, I got something going on, I got to bounce an idea off of him. He's one of the guys that I tell Wade all the time that I talk to Brad as much during the season as anybody. And we talked right after our game, and he said, "What do you think?" I said, "You need to just get in that zone and forget about playing man." And he laughed. He goes, I'm having a hard time with that. And as a guy who's played man for 25 years and a guy who's hung his hat on being a good defensive coach, I think he deserves a ton of credit for kind of saying this is what's best for our guys, not what's best for what Brad Weathers has always done. And sometimes as a coach, that's hard to do, to say we're better if we do this, even though it's a little outside. And Brad would be probably admit that 2 months ago he wasn't a great zone coach. I think now he would tell you, I've learned a lot about coaching the zone and some things. So I think Brad deserves a huge amount of credit for making the leap and sticking with that, really, no matter what the other team does. They'll come out and trap you a little bit if you're going to hold it, but I think that switch is really why they're playing up here this weekend.
Maybe not the talent or skill level. Wade might remember this team, and I do. 78 team, 79 team, they had Stig and Jankowski. And you go into Johannes and Newman, obviously not the same set, but Nashville always had 2 big players. They had O'Rears earlier in the 2000s, but now these 2 here. It always seems like Nashville's got to have 2 big guys to get here. Now here they are back, but you remember those days. They'd come down and just go inside and play around.
Yeah, and again that's Nashville traditionally has always had big kids, and when you talk about the Coach Hawkins back in the day, or you talk about Darren Lee, or you talk about Coach Weathers. Coach Weathers, when I've always thought about this team, you think about the Carlisle team that he had at one state when he had Tommy Michaels and Peters. He always has good post players. Post players always are really, really good and really sound. And and like you hit it, Chris, earlier. I'd like to see Royce end up and use a glass more. Shots that maybe sometimes he's missed this weekend. He's going to make. But again. Their post play, the 3-2 zone, morphine from a man team to a zone team, just the whole team concept. Again, you talk about Nashville basketball, the tradition, the success that they have year after year, which has become an expectation at Nashville, whether it's boys sports or girls sports, they're good. And you talk about, that goes to the community, the parents, all those types of things. But again, Nashville, Coach Weathers has done a tremendous job. And will the task be tough tonight against Bloomington Central Catholic? Yes, it will, because they're a really good team. But I think Nashville can present some problems for Catholic to end up and give them a chance to win, whether it's because of the 3-2 zone or whether it's because of the post play that they have. I think that this is definitely going to be a tale of, Central Catholic wants to play fast, wants to shoot it, got great perimeter guys, and now you've got the length at Nashville. So it's whose style is going to win out tonight, to me, is probably going to be more important than who's got the best players.
Nashville's won 17 straight supers in all sports. Now think about that. In all sports, 17 straight super sectionals.
And they broke the losing streak at Carver last night, which I think was huge for the program itself. Yeah, exactly. And I think they proved that they could do it. And they didn't have that deer in the headlights with them either yesterday. And the guys who have stepped up all postseason continue to step up. And, a guy that may not get a lot of pub is Dylan Mueller, who I think has been a great role player for the Hornets. The 3 games I've been able to see him this postseason. Not only that, I like the Beatley kid for what he can do off the bench. If you need some free throws late or a perimeter shot late, he's been able to do that. Kyler Jasper is another kid off the bench that I've been very impressed with the past few games as far as from stepping up, and just a great Nashville team, I think. Hornets are pretty good.
Tough one tonight.
Yeah. We'll talk about, we actually need to slip in one more quick break before we talk about that second semifinal game, so we're going to go ahead and do that. During the Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. It's what healthcare should be. Back after these.
Jeremy Pearson with a look at your next rad weather. We'll see sunshine mixed with patchy clouds today, high 65, turning mostly cloudy tonight with showers moving in late, low 35. Very windy and much colder tomorrow with a mix of rain, snow, and sleet early, becoming mainly snow, accumulating 1 to 3 inches. With locally higher amounts, temperatures will be steady or slowly falling through the 30s. Monday, we'll see sunshine returning. It will be chilly, high 42. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
America is a nation on wheels. Everyone has at least one automobile. We use them for shopping, work, everything we do. But they can be a threat. Some accidents can't be prevented. Your professional Pekin Insurance Agency, Page Insurance on Crownview in Mount Vernon, can help protect you from a large financial loss when an accident happens. Call Page Insurance today at 242-7000 about low-cost auto insurance from Pekin Insurance. Ask them about the many money-saving discounts that are available. Depend on your hometown professional.
Pekin Insurance. The health of your kidneys has a big impact on your overall health, affecting everything from your blood pressure to your bones. And if you ever have a kidney problem, Dr. Kangura is here to help. Dr. Kangura trained at the Mayo Clinic and specializes in conditions ranging from kidney stones and uncontrolled high blood pressure to chronic kidney disease. Dr. Kangura sees patients at Crossroads Specialty Clinic. For an appointment, call 618-241-9071.
Hey, welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXSports.com. It's presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
As we dance dangerously with the top of the 9 o'clock hour here till 10 on WMIX, WMIXSports.com. Of course, we have our panel with you today. I'm Chris Hugo. Danny Czerwinski is in studio at the WMIX Sports Mobile Studios. We're joined by Benton Rangers head basketball coach Ron Winemiller, just going left to right, not in any particular order. Mike Chamness, of course, Anna-Jonesboro Wildcats head basketball coach Wade Thomas, Johnston City Indians. Bobby Wells, of course, I like to call him Roberts, the athletic director of Fairfield. I got distracted momentarily, of course, by some mannerisms here in the mobile studios. But Chris Kays, also an IHSA clinician, is here as well.
Hot on the coffee.
Yeah, hot on the coffee. Well, he'll get some mic time here, probably in the 9 o'clock hour as well, as we will go into some different types of topics. But wrapping up with two-way, of course, yesterday, the second semifinal. You can find the full scoreboard at WMIXSports.com. Second semifinal, St. Mel. Of course, Providence, St. Mel, the famous teams in the 80s, they fall to Bloomington Central Catholic. We talked plenty about Central Catholic and how they're going to be 3A next year, but not the St. Mel team I expected.
Maybe, my idea is St. Mel is the
80s. Yeah,
that's me. Or about Fernando Bunch and the boys and Lowell Hamilton. I saw St. Mel play Mount Vernon at West Frankfort.
I never knew that matchup happened.
Yep, that was on a January night. Somebody didn't show up that night. I cannot for the life of me think show up because they had to bring out West Frankfort's JV playing somebody. But anyway, it was a snowy night. St. Mel made it. This probably, as far as 2A schools come out of Chicago, the 1A team or 2A team, not very impressive since 4-5 system went in. Unless they just had an off night. They were not very impressive.
Could be.
Well, and I think Bloomington Central Catholic had something to do with, when you talk about the game, I really enjoyed watching Bloomington Central Catholic. I really like their point guard. Maybe as good a player as here at the state tournament, but I think St. Mel. When I thinking about what to expect when you don't see anybody, don't see a team until you come to the state tournament. I thought St. Mel defensively was sound. I thought they guarded well in the half court. I thought they were sound offensively. I thought they had a little bit of a hard time getting in rhythm and being able to score, but I think probably Central had something to do with that. Central started the game and played man. They went a couple possessions. Actually, it was out of an inbound. They went 2-3, stayed in 2-3 that possession, and forced a missed shot. And I don't know if that was Central's plan, but you could see as the game went on from probably midway in the second quarter, the rest of the game, Central didn't get out of their 2-3 matchup zone.
Yeah, and I thought this is a perfect example of team, maybe, and Central Catholic had "we, not me" on the back of their shirts, and I thought Providence St. Mel played a lot of one-on-one. I thought, they had so many good players. I thought that maybe each one of them tried to play by themselves, whereas Central Catholic, and they had some nice pieces. They had role players that were really good, and didn't try to do too much.
The kid number 12 for Central Catholic last night, a lot of things he does didn't show up in the box score. We were talking about how he looked like a dust mop last night because he was on the floor, time and time again, and I don't know that St. Mel had anybody like that. And that kid was kind of an X factor, got to a lot of loose balls.
The redheaded kid?
Yeah.
I made that comment.
Yeah.
When I sit and look at Central Catholic, when you look at Norton, number 22, that kid could play. Listening to different people talking, I don't know this. Hopefully, as we leave tomorrow and you grab a newspaper on the way home and you find out all those final tidbits about all the teams as the reporters here try to do throughout the week. I'd heard that this kid had committed to Creighton, ended up and had knee injury, maybe missed part or all of last season. And this information is, again, just speculation, but, this guy could play. He started the game, if you recall, with the All-Stater from St. Mel up guarding him, and he hits a step-back, probably 24-footer, and kind of set the tone for the game. And it's like, hey, we're here to play. We're not intimidated because you've got 3 first-team All-Staters. Our basketball team, is going to be better than you, the individual.
Yep, I agree.
I just thought at some point Providence St. Mel kind of looked disinterested to start. Maybe kind of, okay.
Kentucky.
Yeah. Huh?
It looked kind of like Kentucky.
Well, let's put that's changed. There's been a tweak in that group, allegedly. We'll see today. But, because I can't argue that point at all. Central Catholic's got a vibe about them. And I don't know what that vibe is, but they've got a sense of what to do, how to do it, and how to get things done. And they had a nice crowd as well last night. But I was impressed the way Central, they were everywhere. It seemed loose balls, 50-50 balls. They were doing the little things where St. Mel was trying to ride on talent. When I look at Central Catholic, they got 3 guys that can really shoot it. They've got 4 guys that can drive it and bounce it. And they end up, if you remember, they alternated the 2 post kids, 42 and 44. One was a little bit thicker and stronger. The other was a little bit more lean and athletic. But all of them could really pass it.
Yep.
Those are the things when I think about them from watching them last night. And that's where I think it's going to be really interesting because I come away last night so impressed with the things that they did offensively versus St. Mel's man. What's it going to be like tonight whenever they're seeing a long, athletic 3-2 zone where you don't see a lot of 3-2 zone, in high school basketball. And I think that, to me, comes back to the style and that length of Nashville, their 3-2 zone. Can Nashville get their tails back defensively and stop transition? Can they get out and cover shooters? Can they not let those Central Catholic guys get in gaps to create for themselves and others? And I think if Nashville can do that at the defensive end, I think Nashville will now be able to have a chance because offensively in the half court, they're going to be patient, and the right guys for Nashville are going to take the shots. But, the style of Central Catholic versus the length of Nashville, to me, is going to be a
big question mark that we'll find out about 8:30 tonight.
And I think and I know where we're from, maybe we don't appreciate this as much, but the Corn Belt is such a tough league, and we know probably more for football than we do but you're telling me that some of those kids from Central Catholic didn't line up and play football against Pontiac, and didn't line up and play football against guys from Peoria, Notre Dame, and Muhammad Seymour, and right on down the list. That's got to prepare you for a game like last night. And I felt like that the kids from Central Catholic, which we see a lot of times up here, whoever draws the Chicago school right off the bat is very intimidated. And I felt, like you said, he bangs that first three, Norton does, and it's like, come on, here we go. And we're not intimidated. We didn't come here to play. We came here to win. And that's a big difference. We go back, we were talking about Sesser and Hayworth. Kind of looked like in part of that game they were here to play. And, I think sometimes it's your mindset when you get here. Are you here to play? Are you here to win? And I thought Central Catholic was here to play, not was here to win.
And I think tonight, that's where Brad Weathers and his experience, again, going back to that, that's a big plus for Nashville that he's been in that situation. And I don't think that Nashville's kids are going to be intimidated. It's just if they can come out and weather an early storm and hang in a ball game, they'll have a good chance.
Hey, those kids had to go on the road to Benton.
No, they were at home.
Oh, we
had to go to Assembly Hall this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The year before, though, they had to go to Benton. That's not an easy place to go play.
Sometimes.
Oh, man. Plenty more to come here on the Saturday Sports Show. You need to sneak out for another break as we have wrapped up our talk on the semifinals yesterday. We have plenty more topics.
Now we get to the crux of the situation.
We get to the nitty-gritty, as I say. We'll take a break. We'll come back here shortly on the Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
That's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
Jeremy Pearson with a look at your next rad weather. We'll see sunshine mixed with patchy clouds today, high 65, turning mostly cloudy tonight with showers moving in late, low 35. Very windy and much colder tomorrow with a mix of rain, snow, and sleet early, becoming mainly snow, accumulating 1 to 3 inches. With locally higher amounts, temperatures will be steady or slowly falling through the 30s. Monday, we'll see sunshine returning. It will be chilly, high 42. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
America's best music and talk. AM 940 WMIX Mount Vernon, the Withers Broadcasting Station.
What does technology sound like? Is it the clang of heavy machinery, the beeps and chirps of an electronic gadget? At the new Good Samaritan Regional Health Center, technology sounds a little something like this.
It's the sound of a young girl excited because her mom's being released the same day as her minimally invasive surgery. Thanks to the Da Vinci surgical robot, our surgeons' hand motions are seamlessly translated into smaller, more precise movements. But surgery isn't the only way Good Samaritan is raising the bar for advanced healthcare in Southern Illinois.
That's the sound of a patient's health record being updated and stored electronically for immediate access by nurses, primary care doctors, and specialists alike. That's why soon, the new Good Samaritan Regional Health Center will use all electronic patient health records. Less paper translates to faster, better care for you. And that sounds a little something like this.
The new Good Samaritan Regional Health Center. Raising a hospital, raising the bar.
This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Wilt. I want to thank Mount Vernon and the surrounding area for continuing to support us over the past 5 years. If you have never sat down with someone to go over your insurance program, let me invite you into our office. Let us show you what working with the industry leader, represented by a local agent, can do for you. I'm located just off 42nd Street. You can reach our office 24 hours a day at 242-1421 or on the web at TonyWilt.com. Thanks again, and go Rams.
Can Mount Vernon Rams baseball make a return trip to state? How about a return to dominance for Lady Rams softball? Hi, this is Jared Knapp, Vice President from Community First Bank. WMIX Sports will have every pitch of Rams baseball and a great assortment of Lady Rams softball this season. Tune the dial to AM 940 on game day or listen online at WMIXsports.com, where you'll also find our schedule and archives. Rams baseball and Lady Rams softball from WMIX Sports, powered by Community First Bank of the Heartland. Welcome back to Personal Banking.
Hey, welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXsports.com, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's one of the hospitals.
It's what healthcare should be.
Oh, so many topics we could delve into here on a Saturday morning in Peoria County, but we're glad to have you with us. The IHSA State Finals are this weekend. Central Area Red Devils will play for third place today at 12:15 in Class 1A against Benton Unity. You can see that game on our sister station, Q106, or listen to it on WQRLradio.com. Tonight, the National Hornets play for a 2A state title at 8:15, I believe it is. You can listen to that game with Hall of Famers Bo Meyer and Brad Beefcake McClay on sister station V1047 or V1047.com. Should be a good one tonight. But, of course, as we move on, we are up here at Peoria, some Peoria-related topics. But social media question of the week, of course, we went with, we need to give our answers, I guess. Yeah. I forget the terminology or verbiage I used on Facebook, but you can find it on our Facebook wall.
I'll answer. I'll let you type since you have typing accessibility over there.
I'll have it.
That's right.
You're going to make me work.
Yeah, because you have to once in a while.
I need to turn you up a little bit.
I'm good.
No, you're a little soft. That's right. Yeah. Anyhow, this is what happens. But however, the social media question is, who is your favorite current or former ESPN personality? DC, you answer first.
Dan Patrick.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody?
Ron? I'll say Peter Gammons.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Charlie Steiner. I could see him MLB ticket a lot.
Bradley. He's a Bradley guy, right? Charlie Steiner?
I think he's a Bradley guy.
Bradley guy?
In Peoria, I had to say that. He's a Dodgers guy for a while now.
I like Charlie Steiner. Follow me to freedom.
That was the best commercial ever. I don't care what they say.
I would have to go SVP Scott Van Pelt.
Nice.
The Maryland Terrapin.
Big Ten guy.
Big Ten guy.
I like Keith Olbermann before the corporate sellout. Now he's came back, and it's not been as good, but...
Yeah.
He and Dan Patrick, when they did sports, that was the best.
Yeah, classic.
15 years ago.
World's Worst is pretty good right now on his show, Olbermann's show.
Yeah. Jay's going to find a way to get to a microphone.
Yeah.
You're not going to say it off air. We don't talk off air.
Gary Thorne.
That didn't go over. Good.
Gary Thorne.
Yeah, sometimes you got to get up and talk. Come on.
Get out of your bed.
You got to get out of his bed to get a talk.
Well, unfortunately, Kay's had gotten a second-class citizen treatment.
He's getting a second-class citizen treatment, but first-class bill.
I do like the Gary Thorne from Kay's, though.
Yeah.
Best hockey announcer of all time. I'm not a John Kelly guy by any means, by the way. That matters. I'm not here to talk Blues hockey.
Who was the guy that,
in my opinion,
he would always do the 6:45 SEC football game on Saturday night? He had the best voice. I always loved listening to him.
Oh, you talk SEC. It used to be Joe Dean, little string music in Lexington.
Vino Good. No, this guy was the white-haired guy.
640. Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Rob Franklin.
Yes, because he was
I always thought he was the best.
And now he is.
Okay. Mine by far is singular guy, far and away, is Scott Van Pelt, because he is so versatile, not just sports, but pop culture. That's really what it's all about these days. However, if you go back to the 90s, I prefer Dan Patrick and Mustachio Keith Olbermann on SportsCenter. And you know what? They were so talented. They probably changed broadcasting at times when you really think about it for the worse. But they were great. But in that, I mean, and taking away from live programming at times, because they mastered the art of making sure you didn't get lost in the moment, say, today or tonight.
Yeah.
They used days of the week instead of phrases like tomorrow. They would say, Tuesday game against the Miami Heat instead of tomorrow night's game against Miami Heat, because they would use that SportsCenter. They record it like at midnight, and then they'd play again at 6, 6:30, 7, 7:30. I mean, I'd watch it 15 times before I go to school every morning.
And I think when you talk about ESPN, we're really not doing it justice if you don't talk about Chris Berman. I know he has totally become more of an NFL guy.
That's what we do to people who talk about Chris Berman.
That's right. I know, but still, Chris Berman is really probably as much the face of ESPN as a Bob Lee that was back in the day to what they are now.
And, Berman does a really good job on Countdown, but to talk about a specific sport, I think Jay Billis does a really good job with college basketball. And, being a Duke guy and my brother being a big Duke fan and me being a big Michigan fan, it's tough to say, but I really enjoy it.
Twitter follows, too.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he doesn't follow anybody.
It's a random rap lyric every day followed by, gotta go to work.
Yeah.
I love it. But that's our social media question. You can participate in the discussion on Facebook, facebook.com/WMIX Sports, as well as the Twitterverse @WMIX. A decent question.
That's good.
We're going to go Peoria-related stuff, rather, but not everybody comes to Peoria, and we want to include all of our people who do follow us and like us on the various social media. But one thing I've noticed up here in Peoria, and obviously I've been considered an IHSA homer at times due to my affiliation with the News Media Advisory Committee and having done some games for them in the past. But the only thing I don't understand and don't particularly care for is you have guys and officials that work together on crews for an entire year, sometimes seasons upon seasons upon seasons. Sometimes the crews are already broken up to start the postseason. You start to work with the guys that you know are going to work with as you go from, say, regional to sectional, then to super sectional. But then this week, up here in Peoria, they got broken up. You know, you had the crew of David Davis, of course, from Mount Vernon, Ron Standard from Mount Vernon, and Dallas Bigham from Perry County. And they get up here, and they don't work the same game together. You have Ron and Dallas work the 2A 8 o'clock game last night. David Davis, of course, works the Spencer game. All three did a great job. I don't mean it like that. I just mean I don't understand why, for the life of me, they were broken up as they were. Does that make sense? Am I off topic? Maybe this doesn't have a place for discussion. Maybe it does.
I don't understand it either. I've never understood why you work 60, 70 games with a certain group, and the biggest games of the year, then you're busted up. And then this is the first this year. This is the first time I remember officials getting to state, and in that crew getting split up. So now in the biggest of the biggest games of the year, now you're working with a guy, and you could tell in the first game yesterday, those three were not used to each other, and one guy had to overcompensate.
Put it in perspective, when Ron Winemiller gets up here like 2016 or 17, they're not going to tell Jason Hobbs, hey, you have to go coach for Kiwani Weathersfield.
Right.
A lot of pressure.
Well, and I think a lot of it, that's a pretty good call there. Well, yeah, we're good on that.
But when you talk about officials, I think it's not doing. Officials have a tough job. I mean, they make a mistake in the eyes of 50% of people every time they blow their whistle. And when you talk about crews of officials that have worked together for 15, 20, 25 years, I understand when it gets to the postseason and now they want to split up and take the best veteran lead crew, so to speak, to go work at all the different sites around. I understand that. But now you're taking a tough job, and now you're making the task even tougher, because if I go work with somebody that I'm not familiar with, now how are they going to call? What's their style? Are they going to call it really close? Are they going to let them play? And that's where you start getting into tough situations, because every game, every coach is going to, has told their kids or has drilled their kids. You have to understand, and the quicker you can figure out how the game's going to be called, the more you can use it to your advantage. Whether it be they're going to let you play and be physical, or you're going to have to keep hands off and those types of things. But when you start taking officials, splitting them up, and now they're having to go work with people that maybe they shake hands with when they meet at the gym and meet someone for the first time, and that's tough.
Well, and I'll say this, too. I think always in the past when we were kids in the old two-class system, the guys that were going to state from the Charleston area always worked the Carbondale Super, and the guys that were going to state from the Southern Illinois area always went and worked that's just the way it was. Well, now there's no Charleston Super. So, the other night, there's 5 Southern Illinois guys refereeing those 2 games. And I think that puts the officials in a tough spot, because there's 75% people there from Southern Illinois that all know that those guys are Southern Illinois guys. And I thought that the games Tuesday night were very well officiated. I thought they did a great job. But I think that it's that one more thing that you allow T-Town and Dietrich to say, well, no wonder. You got Southern Illinois guys that probably had Sesser and Nashville 15 times, So I think that's one thing that IHSA should look at and could look at to just take one more thing off the officials' plate.
Well, like last year, Harrisburg plays their opening round game here last year. Southern Illinois crew on the game. Not fair to those guys to put them in that spot. Just not fair.
Right. It's not fair for them to receive undue criticism before the game starts.
Right.
And it's really not fair for the kids from Harrisburg either, because, as we all know, there's things that happen throughout the year with officials and coaches, officials and players, and now, right off the bat in the state semifinal game, I'm going to watch number 12. I had him 2 weeks ago against Murfreesboro, and I think he cheap-shotted the kid. I'm not for sure, but, or, hey, number 25, he runs his mouth, he likes to trash talk, whereas if he's got Bloomington, Central Catholic, and St. Mel, he's got no preconceived notions, and everybody's got a clean slate. So, like I said, it's just that one more thing that official and those teams don't have to worry about.
Or, okay, this team's here at Peoria, I got their game, and they won't hire me. You know, their school won't hire me. I haven't worked a game at their school in 17 years. There's another thing that goes into that, too.
Well, but on that, kind of going back to what you were talking about, Ron, though, I'm not a basketball guy, but isn't it kind of nice at times, though, that officials are familiar with the people that you're playing in terms of style and things like that? Because if you've got somebody who year in and year out, they let you kind of beat on each other in Southern Illinois. Now, all of a sudden, you're in Peoria. You've got guys who are completely hands-off. You may have your best player with 3 fouls in the first quarter.
Oh, I think it can work it can work for the positive, too. You know, if it's a guy that you've got a great relationship with, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from the official standpoint, take that completely out of the equation, and they don't even have to worry about it. Then that's one last thing on a big stage that they got to be in the back of their mind. And officials are people, you know, they're human beings just like all of us, and you know, just like there's certain places I'd rather go play, there's certain teams they would rather officiate, I'm sure. So I just think that the IHSA could do that. I mean, here's the other thing, the Porta game last night, there's 3 guys from Springfield. I'm sure that Porta was very familiar with those Porta kids, you know, and I thought those guys did a great job officiating that Nashville game. Probably an easy game to officiate with both teams playing a lot of zone. But, you know, I think they could just take that away. Because what if it would have come down to a controversial end to that game? And, hey, well, no wonder these guys from Porta, they've seen these officials 10 times during the year. So I think it's just one more thing that the IHSA could eliminate in an already stressful postseason time of the year.
I think last year at Illini Central, it was, I think, it was the first game they played or the second game, whatever it was, they had a crew that had their games a lot. And this crew last night, a guy next to him, Mitty Rose, said, well, why is that guy on that game? Because he does a lot of Petersburg games in that area. So, I mean, why do they put people in that situation? I don't have any idea. And then you can't ask off, because what I've been told is if you get put on a tournament that you're not supposed to do a school for, you write down, and you say, hey, I can't do this because I put this school down, you're done. They may not put you anywhere else. And that's kind of a shame, because it's kind of an unwritten rule that, you know, as an official, I'm not going to go work at my hometown where I went to school, or all of a sudden you have an affiliation with a particular coach. I'm not going to go work there. I know, you know, it's always been the case, but I know in years past when it gets to the postseason, there's been Southern Illinois officials that have had to work in the town that they live, and they've asked off of that, and then you get what you're talking about, Danny. All of a sudden the IHSA says out, you either keep the game or we'll find a replacement, and then you won't have anything in the postseason. That's what I worry about. And then you brought this up. We've talked about this before. If you're the best officials, you should go. Here we go. Wade's ready to embark on a statement, I know, but if you're the best officials, you should go, not because you've done so many years. I totally agree. I think that's probably my biggest point of contention from an assignment standpoint, from an officiating, on the officiating side. I know guys that have officiated, and I understand, you know, officials aren't in this for the money. Officials don't do this for anything other than the love of the game. They were a former player. It's their way to be able to still be involved in the game. But when you start to see officials that end up and they get X number of trips to the state tournament, and then they quit officiating at the high school level and move on to the college level because there's not that opportunity to continue, that's sad. I think that, you know, just like the best teams every year, or the team that gets hot is the team that ends up and makes it to the state tournament. I think the best officials should be the ones that work, and whatever that rating system or ever how they assign that, I think that those guys that are in their prime, that are doing the best, should be the ones that are working the state tournament year after year.
Agreed. If everybody's quiet on that, there we go. Yeah, that's tough to get very careful with, obviously.
Right.
So as not to, yeah. So there we go. We'll take a break, come back with some more topics here on the Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital, more than a hospital.
It is what healthcare should be.
Yep, back up to these.
Expensive to get back into shape? Not anymore. Rend Lake College's new fitness center is only $53 per semester. They've also thought of everything with universal machines, free weights, treadmills with dedicated TV screens, ellipticals, and more. Qualified dance instructors are also available. Or go at your own pace with DVDs that can be used in the exercise room. Best of all, it's open 7 days a week. Check out the Rend Lake College Fitness Center in the Marketplace off Potomac Boulevard in Mount Vernon. Or log on to rendlakecollege.edu/fitcenter.
How can we keep the people we love safe and secure in their own home? Let the Medicine Shop's home medical equipment team help you with all your mobility and specialty product needs. They provide mobility products like motorized scooters, wheelchairs, and home stair lifts. The Medicine Shop's expertly trained staff can also provide car and van lift installations, and they offer a full service repair facility for medical equipment, whether you purchased it from them or somewhere else. Here's pharmacist and pharmacy owner Eric Black.
We service a 60-mile radius area, so a pretty wide area. We service orders from several area hospitals, and we have the staff in place that really sets us apart. We have 3 respiratory therapists and 2 seating specialists to help with seating on wheelchair and power chair needs. And we just feel that we have the staff and the warehousing and the facilities in place to really set us apart from any of our competitors in the area.
The Medicine Shop Pharmacy, 2339 Broadway in Mount Vernon.
A digestive problem can affect every area of your life. But now there's a specialist right here in town who focuses on digestive health. Mayo Clinic trained Dr. Tegpal Atwal has opened the only gastroenterology clinic in Mount Vernon. Dr. Atwal treats acid reflux, gallbladder problems, inflammatory bowel disease, ulcers, and more. For your appointment with Dr. Atwal at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 618-241-9071.
Like you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXsports.com, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital, more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
That's Danny Czerwinski. I'm Chris Hugo, also with us in the WMIX Sports Local Studios in Peoria. Of course, Ron Winemiller is the head coach. I guess we can go right to left that time. Chris Cage, the IHSA Clinician. Robert Wells, the athletic director at Fairfield. Wade Thomas, head coach of Johnston City Indians basketball. And then Mike Chamness and at Jonesboro Wildcats basketball, Ron Winemiller is the head coach of the Benton Rangers. And, of course, we're talking about all things related to Peoria here on the show today. It's been a nice panel, of course, I feel. One thing that's obviously always been a hot topic since we moved to Peoria is going back to Champaign and whether or not that would ever happen. The IHSA contract with the city of Peoria is through 2014-15, keeping score at home. That is next basketball season, the next state finals. So, obviously, crunch time in terms of developing a new agreement or a possible agreement with maybe a return to Champaign, going elsewhere, staying here. But love it or hate it, Peoria has been a good home to the IHSA Boys State Finals. The March Madness experience, Caterpillar's money.
I think has everybody here been to bowl?
Mm-hmm. Nope.
You haven't?
Oh,
okay.
They moved here, 96?
Yeah. 95 last
year. An era period where I didn't care about basketball. Too young to go before that. So, yeah.
I mean, Harrisburg made Champaign. That was last year. It was there. That's how I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And then 18 years later. I don't know. I think it's been long enough that I don't know.
I've never been all that enthralled with Champaign, but again, I never got to experience the state finals at Champaign and know what made it so great.
I think, as a kid growing up, it's the state University of Illinois, the Fighting Illini. From a young kid's perspective, that was always a special time. I think another thing from just logistics, from as a Southern Illinois person, you could end up and go to the state tournament in Champaign, watch a championship game, and be back home and sleep in your own bed. If you end up and leave Peoria the first year that it came here, we did that. We drove home on a Saturday night and rolled in about 3 o'clock in the morning. So I mean, just the logistical part from Southern Illinois and home makes it a little bit nicer to be in Champaign. But the experience, I think that's the thing for the younger kids now. I know having a son here, I mean, that they love it. This is what they look forward to and set their clock to is, man, when we're going to the state tournament because game on.
do you think the logistics of it now, because the 4-class system was never in Champaign, do you think that would detract something from us who have been to the state tournament years ago when it was in Champaign, that feel, that mystique that there were 8 teams there, and bottom line was 4 of them weren't getting a trophy at that time. Do you think that would play a factor into it?
That's a good question.
I think we're in an era where obviously revenue, but yet whatever you can do to provide as much entertainment as possible may be the factor that breaks one camel's back over the other, which is why I can't possibly, unless Champaign figures out the entertainment aspect and figures out a way to pull off the experience, that's going to be the determining factor, I would think.
Well, I think one thing when you talk about revenue, if you imagine the crowd this weekend at Champaign, level C, A, B, and C seating at the Assembly Hall, you can go ahead and rope it off and not use it, because the crowd this weekend has been the smallest crowd that I've ever seen at a state tournament since I've been going in 1982.
The Lufts are playing at Illinois, because let's put it face it, Illinois basketball is, well, not.
If you're a kid in Illinois, where are your dreams of playing? Rupp Arena?
If you want to stay in state.
In state? Oh, okay.
I'm thinking that's Chrysler Arena, Chamness.
Either the United Center or the former Assembly Hall.
Well, here's my take on it.
Not pay me any money, so I'm not calling it by that name.
Here's what I don't want to see happen. As a guy who loves basketball in the state of Illinois, I don't want to see it bounce around. I don't want to see it at the Cal for 2 years, and then 3 years at Hinsdale Central at some civic center, and then 5 years back at Peoria. Because to me, that was all. I was a very little kid when McLeansboro won the state championship. I was in first grade when they got third. I was in second when they won it, and it was going to Champaign. And now I think it's been in Peoria long enough that now to kids it's going to Peoria. Now, wherever it goes, I want to see it stay. And for an extended period of time, I look at, we were talking about this yesterday, golf. Why you would ever, and I have no affiliation to golf, why would you move golf out of the southern part of the state in October and play it in Peoria or Bloomington in October? And then
it's in the middle of the state.
And then be surprised when the weather's bad, And that's kind of the thing. I want them to really put it where they want it and keep it there for an extended period of time. Let's not bounce it all over the state.
Well, and if they look at maybe possibly a change, who's to say it's going to go to Champaign? It may go to Chicago. Then for us guys in Southern Illinois, that makes it more of kind of a headache getting home or coming up. Us guys got to be here Thursday at 1 o'clock every year. Now you're leaving really early. So.
Just like we talked about with football yesterday, granted the move was necessitated by the Big Ten this year, but it was in DeKalb. Staunton, who we played in the first round of the playoffs, who ended up going all the way up there, it was a 5.5-hour drive one way for them, and I like to think, and we were talking about what if Carterville makes it 1 year, or what if a South team makes it and it's in DeKalb? You're basically having to waste one full day of nothing but travel.
Yep.
I want it in one spot. Peoria's got it right now. They've got the madness. They've got the facility. We talked off air. None of us really have had to drive to and from the arena. Now, I'm not saying you can do whatever you want in Peoria, but if you stay on the beaten paths, you should be okay. Right, and so you're with. And it's Peoria. Wade, your son has always known Peoria. So us in this room, it's been Champaign to Peoria. Your kid is Peoria. So now keep it at one area. It doesn't matter to me, but I think the experience is what's going to keep it here, because Peoria has a civic center, and that's all thing to get that done.
And Caterpillar to end up and be able to take care of, the ticket sales. That's always, and I don't know, again, it's just been talked, but it's always been talked about that Caterpillar would always guarantee a sellout. And when you're talking about, how many empty seats there are here this weekend, if Caterpillar's still making that commitment, then I guess other than what it appears from a revenue and financial standpoint, it doesn't matter how many people are in the seats because there's still that Caterpillar backing.
Well, and that would be a good topic to explore as well, just the sheer fact of attendance here. and might be one that we can approach. I do think we need to get another break in on the Saturday Sports Show, but let's go ahead and finish our thoughts on where it should be.
Rich Aaron Gym. That's another place. You guys need to host a postseason thing sometime, don't you?
Well, I would like to think that our gym is one of the nicer ones to sit empty. 7 years, no sectional. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
I personally, even as an athletic director who loves hosting stuff like that, I don't understand why Benton High School does not have a sectional every year.
Well, the Peoria attendance, Cesar Valera, second time in 4 years, they didn't bring much of a crowd. Porter did because they're down the road.
Right.
Hayworth did down the road. Mooseheart brought a bunch of people because,
they brought the entire, every
brought the unincorporated village they have. But, is it for class or is it $3.50 gas plus $150 for a hotel room? What is it?
Here's the issue. Psychologically, a lot of folks have not recovered from the downturn of 2008, which is also coincidentally the first year of four-class expansion. Gas continues to be around the $3.50 mark. Maybe it'll dip down to the upper $2 area. But I think you have a lot of coincidences that are leading to people just not coming to Peoria. Whether it's the loss of the mystique of a team you see Friday not being gone on Saturday, I think that has hurt some because the same team is going to be back on Saturday. Whether it's the fact that basketball, and love it or hate it, just isn't as good as it used to be, just because of all the distractions and kids now having to dedicate themselves to just one sport. And unfortunately, that sport isn't always basketball. But there's just so many factors at play here that I think that hurt attendance and hurt interest. Attention spans are horrible. Yeah. Exactly. It's a struggle for me just to get through one game when I'm not broadcasting it. Yeah, we got to that second 1A game yesterday, and then the second quarter, I'm hungry. Can we leave?
Yes.
DC was just as bad, though.
I was sitting there in the second, third quarter going, okay, I can see Minden's not coming back what we did.
Right. The one thing I kind of piggyback off what Bob said, I wish, and I have actually approached this in some state meetings, we are in a different situation where our girls play in a different gym, which a lot of people aren't in. But it really hamstrings some people when you find out you're hosting the regional, and all of a sudden now you got a freshman game on Thursday night. I wish they would do what the NCAA does and say, okay, in 2015-16, here's your 4 regional hosts, or at least the sectional. Maybe they can't do it for the regional. Hey, 15-16, you're hosting. 16-17, you're hosting. 17-18, 18. Then as soon as you get this week over with, bang, you throw the next. So there's always a 4-year lead time to everybody knows what's going on. That's the one thing I would say about hosting the postseason.
Sure, and if you have maybe a town that's building a new school, their gym's not going to suck. That year their school opens, hey, we'll give you this sectional. Kind of like to do with All-Star games in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Hey, you're building a new stadium opening this year. You can have the All-Star game this.
Well, Carterville hasn't had the section. That's a beautiful facility. I'm not just say that Benton should have one, but you look at that thing at Carterville, and they haven't. I don't even know if they've hosted a regional yet.
I don't think they can. I think they have to wait 2 years. Is what I had heard.
Get the kinks out. Is that how?
I think another factor you have to is look at some of your 1A gyms. They're so small, and some of these schools don't have the capability of hosting that. But it's unless you're Salem, either move it 50 miles away or put it right there.
Well, and I look at you get into the geographic part of everything, but I think when you start looking around it, I think that to me that should be the underlying factor every year when you're talking about sectionals. There's only, in my opinion, a handful of schools and facilities that are worthy of hosting a sectional if it's going to be done and maybe in the way that I picture it. North City is a great sectional site. El Dorado is a great sectional site. Benton, Pinckneyville, Oakville's new facility, West Frankfort. There's only a handful of those gyms that can seat the capacity, but maybe that seating capacity is not needed as much because as we look at, how, like what we're seeing this weekend, not great crowds.
But there hadn't been great crowds all the way through.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's not just Peoria, it's DuQuoin last Friday, a week ago Friday night. You could have walked in at 7 o'clock, got seats. Back growing up, if you'd have walked in at 7 o'clock, they told you head on down the road. Regional final with Mount Christopher. There were seats.
plenty of seats.
But I will say this, that Friday night when Nashville and Mount Carmel were playing, that was 7 years ago, that was the only game in town. Right now, you got Cesar and Caro playing, or I can go watch Hawk play for the regional title.
Yeah.
It used to be there were two games. You either went to the big school or the little school. And now there's all that. And I think you see it in the newspaper as well, the media coverage. It used to be if you played in a regional final, that was front page of the Southern. Now they're trying to cover 8 games. And I think they catch some criticism undue because they can only cover so much too, So I think it's really a change for everybody. Like it or don't like it, it's here to stay.
Yes, it is. And, of course, we're here to stay at least until 10 o'clock. We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more to talk about on the Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. More than a hospital.
It's healthcare should be.
Back after these.
This is Chase Landers with Landers Collision Centers. Imagine this. You're driving down the road. It's dark as can be outside. Thank goodness you just had that left headlight bulb replaced. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see a thing. Now, close your eyes. Okay, don't close your eyes. You're supposed to be driving. Imagine noticing a slight twinkle off to the left, just above the ditch. What is that, you think to yourself? All of a sudden, whack! You've just encountered your first deer hit. The left side of your vehicle is beat up pretty bad. The next thing I want you to imagine is very simple. Picking up your phone and dialing 1-888-LANDERS to set up your repair. Deer claims are common, and usually a very simple process, which fall under comprehensive coverage. This is Chase Landers, asking you to allow Landers to be your collision repair shop of choice. Whether it be a deer hit, fender bender, or the regular, uh-oh, sorry mom, Landers is here for you whenever you need us. Big or small, Landers fixes them all. 1-888-LANDERS, that's 1-888-LANDERS.
The Chevrolet Open House event is going on now at Schmidt Chevrolet of Mount Vernon. The price you see is the price you pay. Save big on the full lineup of Chevrolet cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. Save over $7,000 on the North American Truck of the Year, the Silverado. Get low lease payments on the all-new Chevy Impala, a Consumer Reports pick. But hurry, this is for a limited time only. Come to Schmidt Chevrolet of Mount Vernon, 3423 Broadway in Mount Vernon.
Did your bank recently stop offering free checking? People's National Bank still has free checking with the added convenience of a Visa check card, online banking, bill pay, MoneyPass, and mobile banking. Stop by People's National Bank located at 413 South 34th Street in Mount Vernon today for details on how to get your free checking account.
People's National Bank, serving Southern Illinois since 1909. Member FDIC, non-usage fees may apply.
Raise your hand if you're tired of showing up for a service appointment only to sit around a waiting room. Hi, Roy Schmidt, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer at King City Chrysler Center. Our express lane fast oil changes and more provide quick, convenient service with no appointment needed. Our specialists are on hand to wait on you with lanes dedicated just for your oil changes, tire rotation, brake inspections, batteries, bulbs, wiper blades, air filter replacements, and more. We will also perform complimentary vehicle inspection with every oil change. We work around your schedule, open weekdays from 7:30 until 5 and Saturdays from 8 a.m. until noon. See Express Lane Fast Oil Changes and more for all of your service needs, and we will get you back on the road quick. We're located at King City Chrysler Center at 1603 Broadway in Mount Vernon, Illinois. Just another reason you can count on us.
Mount Vernon is home to many wonderful people and things, and that includes quality cardiac care from Dr. Ruzek Ibrahim, a skilled cardiologist. Dr. Ibrahim's training and scientific accomplishments have earned his designation as a Fellow of the American College of Cardiology. His services range from preventative care to the treatment of advanced heart conditions. For an appointment with Dr. Ibrahim at Crossroads Specialty Clinic, call 241-9071 or visit in person at 4113 South Water Tower, Mount Vernon.
And we welcome you back on the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXSports.com. The one's our final break. We're here with you until 10 o'clock. Presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. More than hospital.
Here's what healthcare should be.
There you go. Avery Barton's back in our Mount Vernon studio. Forgot his name dropped today, but of course that's Danny Czerwinski. I'm Chris Hugo. Chris Case, IHSA Clinician here at the mobile studios. Robert Wells, the athletic director of Fairfield. Wade Thomas, of course, Johnston City Indians basketball coach. Mike Chamness is the head coach of the AJ Wildcats, and Ron Winemiller is the head coach of the Benton Rangers. Of course, now, unfortunately, has probably a target on his back now in 2016 and 17, as I know he would be here at Peoria.
He'll be here.
He'll be here. Yeah. Whether the Rangers come with him or not could be.
They're loaded. Depends on if they're hosting a sectional that year.
Well, I mean, they won the Class L State Boys Championship, or at least what they call it, Ren Lake.
Well, you don't want to get water on the floor at Rich Heron and have to move it to the East Gym. I know.
Oh, that's true, too.
Well,
you leak it. Yeah.
Great IHSS moment.
You get to leak it. Hamilton County have to move. That's bad.
Probably as mad as I've ever seen Lou Winemiller in his life.
Yes, right there. He mistaken me for somebody else that day, too.
Yeah.
No, that's not
me. He was
me.
not a happy camper.
That was a lot, though, or had been a lot.
That used to be back in the day where you could get on the computer on that IHSS and you could put 3A football semifinals going to be held in the new pavilion at DuQuoin on the fairgrounds inside. I remember people were going, why would they want to play it on the inside? Why would they move that game down there? You know, can't do that anymore. That fun's been lost.
Yes, it has. Certainly not the same, but a lot of things aren't the same anymore. And, of course, we have plenty of areas in which we could delve into topics. I'm not really sure where we want to go from here. We just talked about hosting and things like that. But, I mean, we don't have to stick with Peoria. I know a hot topic right now, and we're all guys who love to see what could happen in the future as far as teams leaving conferences or teams leaving tournaments or things of that ilk. And
now, here we go.
Landscape.
Here we go. The Black Diamond, you know, they got to find another team here because Alvarado's left them high and dry. Any Scoopies over here, Diamond people that we know or don't know? You know, the
president of the Black Diamond Conference,
right there. Yeah. That's huge. A lot of finger pointing now.
2020, I think, is my run on that.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, there was a lot of talk, you know, with you know, Elkville and what was going to happen there and the dominoes that could fall. A lot of rumor and speculation. You know, the Elkville, you know, we will have our meeting. The spring meeting is coming up on the 25th, and things will happen there. You know, people can talk about these things that have happened or haven't happened. There's no action that can happen until the spring meeting. And at that spring meeting, there will be different things that will be talked about and discussed. And, you know, one of those is Elkville's situation with the co-op with DuQuoin and where that's going to be. You know, so it'll be interesting to see what comes from that. There'll be some good discussion and action that needs to be taken for Elkville and for who the teams are that are going to replace them. Will happen at that time, and after that, then everybody will know what's going to be happening as far as how the Black Diamond Conference will shake out for next year.
I think you look at our conference. Maybe Mike can speak to this as well. You know, Carterville just continues to explode in growth, and you just wonder how much longer they will continue to play on the Mississippi side, which is by enrollment the smaller side, and you know they may be the biggest school other than Heron in the whole thing, and they may even surpass Heron. So just kind of wonder at what point our conference looks at moving them to Ohio and who slides across to the Mississippi.
Yeah, that's the main thing is who slides across. And we were just talking earlier about West Frankfort potentially being 3A next year. I know that was the big thing. Maybe Carterville and West Frankfort will flip-flop. But, you know, if West Frankfort, you know, goes, maybe the Benton Rangers will come over to the Mississippi side.
Well, and I think the thing about that is I don't think Peeneyville and DuQuoin want to be split up. You know, I don't think Benton and Frankfort want to be on opposite sides of the conference because, in football, as we all know, drives everything. I mean, we can try to solve every basketball problem in the world, but if football wants to do something different, they're going to. What a great week one game. You know, Benton Frankfort on Saturday afternoon every year. But I think that's the one big thing that they're going to have to work out with that is who does go to use a 1 year. This is the smallest team for 1 year to use. And you do have to look at travel. What if it happens that 1 year Harrisburg is the smallest team? I mean, that's a pretty good trip from Sparta to Harrisburg. So I think that those are the things you got to consider.
Or do you look at maybe dropping a couple teams and going to 10 teams, you know, like the Diamond has, and closing it up for football? You know, I know a lot of river-to-river teams in football play crossover with the 4 non-conference games. You know, I know we do, but it's going to be a scheduling mess. You know, now that Sparta is staying, it kind of calms the waters for now, so to speak. But with the Diamond, you know, everybody's missing one game for football, so you've got ADs over here kind of scrambling to find a game. And what happens if they don't?
We had talked to Craig Anderson a couple of weeks ago, and the IHSA is still basically determining if we are going to receive a forfeit for this year. Obviously, they encourage all of us to get games, and we're trying to do that. But with us, a Week 3 opening, our best options right now at Fairfield are Urbana High School, Quincy Notre Dame High School, or a private school north of Indianapolis. So, and yeah, exactly. I've had people come and talk to me and say, well, why wouldn't you play somebody? And I try to come across to them, and this might sound wrong, it's not like playing somebody like that in baseball or basketball, because at the end of the day, if you play somebody that's double, triple your size in football, you're not only probably going to get beat, you're going to get somebody hurt. Yeah. And it does become a safety issue when you're taking a freshman running back that can play in the diamond for us, and now he's playing against potentially a Division I or Division II starter from a large school like that, and it does become a safety issue. So as athletic directors, we're scrambling like crazy, calling people, trying to find people. I've been in contact with schools on the Tennessee-Kentucky border, Indianapolis, Missouri, and it's just not a real good situation for us right now.
Well, and then you talk about, you take it to the administrative side, take it to all the cuts that a lot of schools are having to endure, and what the state's going to give schools as far as, reimbursements, and now you're hearing that number may go from 89% down to 80%, and an already tough financial situation that schools are going through is going to get harder. Now you start talking about travel. You start talking about, all of a sudden now Elkville's going to leave, and who's going to be that next school to replace them, and how that shift is going to need to be made to not only in the Black Diamond, being able to keep that east and west side alignment. It still becomes very difficult when you start talking about travel and gas and fuel and all the things that go into run an athletic program.
Well, Carlisle and Westland are playing twice. Now, Carlisle dropped Benton football because now he's going to play Westland twice. They're going to play a conference game and a non-conference game because they're looking at staying at home. And the other thing as far as scheduling changes is tournaments, basketball tournaments. I mean, there's way too many and not enough teams to go around. You're going to start dealing with that at Benton, Ron, where teams are leaving in and out. People are going different places. Nobody wants to play the same teams. Tournaments aren't going to be the same way anymore. Tournaments are going to take hits because there's a lot of them all going on right now.
And I think when you start talking about that, Ron, led off this segment, and Ron alluded to Carterville and their spike in enrollment. Mm-hmm. I mean, from everything that I've heard from the guys at Carterville, not next year, but the following year will be a 3A team. And so with being a 3A team, Todd Rogers, athletic director, has to get with his coaches and start to scale their schedule in that fashion. So all of a sudden, you're playing against those types of, 1A, 2A schools that you've traditionally played, and all of a sudden now you're looking to pick up potentially a Mount Vernon or a Marion or a Carbondale or someone along that line. And to do that, maybe we have to pull out of this smaller 1A, 2A type of tournament that we've played. And again, that's where you get into more shuffle.
And maybe you like it or not, a team like Carterville has to go to a tournament midwinter-wise like Salem.
Yes,
or something like that, just to have a chance. And, we've seen that with Massac. Heron's done a pretty good job of trying to, get themselves more of a 3A opportunity. Massac, I don't know if they think they might fall back down to 2A. They haven't really done as much as Heron has, but Carterville being very proactive. And they know that they're going to probably be over 1,000 kids within 10 years.
Well, and I think the thing about Massac is they probably haven't picked up the Mount Vernons and the Carbondales. But when you sit that close and you can go play McCracken County, who's 2,000 kids. When you can play Marshall County. I know this year they played McCracken, Marshall, and Graves, and Callaway. Those were the four best teams in the first region. All of them would be well within 3 and 4A teams in Southern Illinois. So, I think that they maybe kind of catch a little grief for not playing those South 7 teams.
They play Marion.
But while that's great, how does that get you prepared for Illinois postseason?
But But my question is, when I can go 10 miles and play those schools, why do I want to drive an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half to Mount Vernon and I can get the same thing when diesel's $4.25 a gallon? You know, I mean, and I think that's what the problem is that travel,
I think that
becomes a huge issue in that.
And I think a lot of people, you know, when we sit down, we start looking at scheduling, one of the biggest logistical things, and I remember Albany had a problem with this when they bumped up to 3A. They found out like August 1, and there was a 2A schedule, so they had a giant gap between their postseason.
And dealing with 2-year contracts with people, most sports being a home-and-home situation, that it's not an overnight fix to end up and tweak your schedule to meet that 3A need.
And Parker Windhorst, AD at Massac, find that out now, is Massac has to travel. You know, and here's Massac, they're in a 2A conference. They go 3A. They've got to go play in Marion. They got to get in Mount Vernon. You know, they get out of one tournament at the beginning of the year at Marion, and they get into Vienna, and that very August, they find out they're going 3A, so the Vienna tournament doesn't do any good.
Same thing with Albany getting into the Little Illini Conference to get into the LIC, and then find out they're going to be 3A. It's like, even though this is a football move, this does us very little good in the rest of our sports. And, you know, you take a look at some things that are ready to happen there. You know, we talked about the Black Diamond Conference and things that could possibly happen looking for a team, and there's definitely some teams interested in getting out of the Little Illini now that they become a bit of a bigger conference with basically half of the Apollo coming over.
And adding more people, Harris coming in and becoming an LIC member next year, and 2 of the smaller schools ending up and moving to the LOPC. So that, like you say, the LIC was always thought of to be, you know, in football, a 2A, 1A, 2A conference. Now that you're starting to see that shift, that it's a 2 and sometimes 3A conference, and the Edwards counties, the Lawrencevilles, the Red Hills, the schools in that 250 to 350 range. Now, not only are you dealing with a 2-hour and 15-minute bus ride from Edwards County to Paris, but now you're dealing with that huge disparity in enrollment.
And again, it's not just a football Friday night. That's a 2-hour, 2.5-hour on a Tuesday night to go play somebody in basketball, in baseball,
volleyball,
softball, volleyball, you know. And so you've got to take at least a little bit of the education factor into it, you know, and hopefully your kids aren't going to get back at 1 o'clock every morning from a home game or a road game.
But I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but 90% of these moves are made for football.
True, absolutely.
I mean, I think we're all crazy if we don't think that they are. You know, Carlisle and Westland can say it's a travel.
Oh, yeah.
But one of them is going to get a win, you know, and it's the race to 5, you know. And if I was a football coach, I'd be the same way, you know. In basketball, we don't fight that. And that's what I tell Coach Clark all the time, is that I don't blame you. I'd be doing the same thing, you know. I would not be playing people that on a year-in, year-out basis, I didn't feel like I had a 50-50 shot to beat at least. So, you know, that's until they completely revamp the way we do football, and I think we're getting closer and closer to that every year with and Anna, I know fights that you guys have made some unbelievable trips in the postseason. Yeah. So I think that's when we see the major change, and we quit seeing all the conference hopping. And I even made the point to Ryan and Jeremy the other day. I said, at what point do we see like SIU, where we have a football conference? Hey, we're going to put just for sake of somebody, Monticello, that we're only going to be in a football conference with, and, you know, now we got these guys, but we're not with them in anything else. And I think we're getting closer and closer to that all the time.
I think that's probably a more viable option than some of the things that the state has put out for us, you know, because the worst thing as both an AD but also as a football guy, I don't want to see us go to the Indiana system where everybody gets in, and now all of a sudden you've got, and then Indiana does a blind draw for their playoffs, so you could have 2 0-9 teams and 2 9-0 teams playing each other in the first round.
But I think that's easy for you to say as a guy in a lot conference. I think when you're Mount Vernon going to Cincinnati and trying to find somebody to play, or going to, you know, now that you're on for a game, you're seeing what the other guys fighting.
But again, you look at it, and this is the selfish part of me in my area of the state, there's only a handful of people to play. If I'm sitting in Benton, you've got Benton, you've got Frankfort, you've got Christopher even. There's a lot more schools that if you were to redistrict something for the state, you're going to be able to pull from to where
you get to go to Casey West.
I get to go to Casey. hey, you're talking to a guy that made a first-round playoff game to Pittsfield from Fairfield one year.
So you guys fight that, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, football scheduling's tough. I know Coach Dietering looks at it like, we played Heron the last couple of years, Week 9. Year in and year out, can't compete with that. And you look for a school, we're going to Benton. We're playing Benton next year, Week 9. But like you said, it's the race to 5 and or 6, I guess, now. And you try to get 6 wins. Whereas basketball, you can go 0-25 and you've made the playoffs. So it's different. But we can sit here and talk about it as long as we want, and we're not going to solve anything.
No. We feel like we solved something.
Yeah, right. We have to take care of some things today.
That's the important thing. But it's been a great show this morning, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys for all taking the time to come down to the 308 WMIX Sports Mobile Studios and join us here today. But a great show. We appreciate it. Of course, Ron Winemiller, head coach of the Benton Rangers basketball team, and of course Mike Chamness, head coach of Anna-Jonesboro Wildcats basketball. Wade Thomas, Johnston City Indians basketball, and of course Robert Wells is the athletic director of Fairfield. Danny Czerwinski, of course, as always. I'm Chris Hugo. Chris Case is with us today. He's a little tuckered out. All that action for him, I think, wore him out a little bit here up in Peoria, but an IHSA volleyball clinician. So, all in all, it's hard to believe baseball season already upon us. High school baseball begins on Tuesday for the Mount Vernon Rams. They travel to Salem. 4:15 your pregame, 4:30 is your first pitch.
Not if it doesn't snow tomorrow.
4:15 your pregame, 4:30 your first pitch. From snow, we played in 20-degree weather. I'm sure a little snow won't hurt you.
Hey, speaking of baseball, ran into Tyler Leffler, having a great season for Bradley.
He's a national leader in what, OBP, OPS average?
Just having a great year. Former Rangers, so we want to throw that in there and how great he's doing.
For the Rams, we'll see the Benton Rangers on March 31st. You can find our full broadcast schedule at WMIX Sports.
Bobby Wells, one of the guys he caught back in the day, Matt Patterson, says hello.
Oh.
Clayton Reeves says hello to Wade Thomas.
Can't imagine.
I know he wants a shout-out from us all the time, but yeah, it goes.
It's a data that ends in Y, and we're on the air. Clayton Reeves, of course, is active. But that's going to take care of things for us today. We appreciate you for joining us here on WMIX Mount Vernon, a free service from Withers Broadcasting, where, of course, ABC News is next.